The story opens with a small town surrounded by a vast cornfield. On Halloween night, a being known as Sawtooth Jack will rise. Year after year, people talk about how he emerges from the cornfield and heads toward the church. One evening, a man wearing a mask is standing right by the cornfield on the side of the road. Suddenly, there is a rustling sound in the area that startles him so much that he loses control of himself. But what truly shocks him afterward is the appearance of a mysterious being right behind him. The masked man is overpowered, and when people later find him, his body is already ablaze, witnessed by a group of teenagers. One of them, named Jim, sees something in the cornfield and starts chasing it all the way to the churchyard. He confronts the creature, and strangely, after subduing it, they consume the material that spills from the creature's midsection. Because of Jim's achievement in capturing the being from the cornfield, the Harvest Union grants his family a new home and a Corvette, hoping that this success will ensure the town gets an abundant and high-quality harvest of corn for that year. Afterward, Jim seems to bid farewell to his parents and younger brother, although we do not yet know where he is headed in that car. A year later, just before Halloween, Jim's brother Richie is involved in a prank outside a movie theater. He sets off firecrackers but gets distracted by a young woman named Kelly. In a classroom, a police officer gives a presentation warning about a risky ritual that has been practiced in this town for decades. According to local tradition, if the ritual fails, there will be no harvest. This year it is Richie's turn to see if he can stop Sawtooth Jack, the figure who always emerges from the cornfield, just like Jim did the previous year. All the young participants are asked to fast for 3 days, and they must do it without any parental involvement. Richie is eager to join, though someone named Riley doubts his ability, mentioning how Jim might have succeeded. But he is not convinced Richie can do the same. Some students are skeptical about the story. One student says that every year, the local police simply pretend to be Sawtooth Jack. Others insist the story is real, based on past personal experiences. Riley keeps taunting them and calling them cowards for even considering the ritual. Tensions rise when one of Richie's friends makes a remark about someone's heritage, causing a fight to break out between the two groups. Richie ends up striking Riley, leading to Richie's expulsion from school, and Riley is furious at being hit. Richie runs away, taking shelter in the same movie theater where Kelly works. Kelly figures out that Richie is Jim's younger brother. When Richie asks where she is originally from, Kelly hints that one day she hopes to leave this town altogether. Richie says that if he wins this year's ritual, he would like to take Kelly with him when he goes. Later, while Richie and his friends are in town, one of them warns him that Kelly may not be entirely trustworthy, mentioning a rumor that she once set fire to a barn. Nevertheless, Richie pays little attention. They slip into a supermarket to avoid the police, where the store clerk asks how Richie's brother is doing in Santa Clara. It seems most people still compare Richie to Jim. Then, as Richie and Dylan wander near the cornfield, Dylan tells him he wants to join the ritual too, though Richie's parents have clearly forbidden him from participating. That evening, Richie dines with his mother and father. His mother hands him a letter from Jim, who apparently is in New Orleans. Richie asks if he can join the ritual, but both parents strongly object. When Richie insists, his father slaps him in anger. Still determined, Richie defies them and leaves home. Meanwhile, an older man is seen in the cornfield, placing a pumpkin on a figure made of wood and straw that resembles a person. Early the next day, as Richie is walking around town, Riley shows up to get revenge for the punch at school. He injures Richie and takes his belt. Richie returns home with a bruised lip and checks the mailbox, where there is another letter from Jim, congratulating him on his 18th birthday. Jim writes that he sometimes misses their hometown, but that winning the ritual proved nothing, and it would be better for Richie to take care of their parents, because they need him. Jim promises he will come back someday. While hiding from the authorities, Richie grows resentful of the local police force and ends up in a confrontation that leaves him briefly unconscious. In another part of town, some parents are forcing their children to join the tradition, locking them up so they will not eat or drink for 3 days. This is very different from Richie's situation, as his family already has everything they want, thanks to Jim's success, so his parents never wanted him to participate. Various teenagers are now held in confinement to ensure they remain hungry for the event. Meanwhile, when an old man is out in the cornfield, He feeds a creature by placing food inside its body, then unfastens it from the wooden post so it can be pursued. Once the 3 days pass, all the teenagers are released and ready to hunt. Driven by hunger, they scour the town. Richie, who has just awakened after losing consciousness, finds himself at home. He ignores his parents' objections and runs off to join the hunt. All over town, famished teenagers are looting stores for food. Richie reunites with his friends, but they soon cross paths with a rival group. Tension escalates because both groups are competing, and they plan to search the cornfield by car. During the drive, something slams into their vehicle, causing them to stop and investigate. They see scattered food on the road, and a few in the group, desperate with hunger, begin to eat what they find. Off to the side, Richie hears a strange rustling noise in the distance. A figure appears in the midst of the corn stalks, and they chase it. Unfortunately, Charlie stumbles, and one by one, various companions are overwhelmed, leaving Richie alone in the cornfield. Now he faces the figure on his own, but a sense of dread washes over him when he sees it up close. He runs and stops near the wooden post where the being had initially been tied. Kelly, the movie theater attendant, is also there, as is Bud, who then flees the cornfield. Richie and Kelly work together, hoping to get through this challenge. Bud, meanwhile, rushes home, but his parents insist he return to the hunt, revealing how they only want him to succeed in the ritual for a chance at a better life. As Bud escapes, Sawtooth Jack continues to follow him. Bud tries to hide in a different place, but he must pay a price to enter another group's hideout. They refuse to let him in. Bud desperately tries to open a door for shelter but is ultimately overpowered by the being, and the people hiding inside also end up in danger. Richie goes to the police station to find a weapon. His father is there, but Richie avoids him. Chaos has erupted in the town as more teenagers break into shops for food. Richie and Kelly are still determined to track down Sawtooth Jack, but they run into Riley, and the earlier rivalry flares up again. One member of Riley's group makes an unkind remark regarding Kelly's background, worsening the situation. In other parts of town, the hungry young people have grown more frantic, and some even turn on one another. The creature itself also continues to confront those who are reckless, such as 3 teenagers who are inebriated. Richie and Kelly drive to Oak Road in search of Sawtooth Jack. When they finally come face to face with him, he does not immediately move against them. Richie notices that the creature is wearing a belt identical to Jim's, causing him to pause. Kelly, not realizing what Richie sees, tries to strike the being first, resulting in Kelly getting hurt. Richie and Kelly scramble back to the car, but the police arrive and point their weapons at Richie. Recognizing Kelly, one officer recalls a past incident involving her family, prompting Kelly to become upset and react strongly. A shot is fired, grazing Kelly's cheek, and they both flee to Richie's house. Inside, Richie's mother seems to behave oddly, and then she suddenly causes harm to herself. Elsewhere, Sawtooth Jack sets fire to an old family home that used to belong to Richie's family before they moved. Time is running out. It's nearly midnight, and this year's ritual must end, or the town will not receive its harvest. Richie meets his father in the church. It is there he learns the truth. The creature is Jim. His parents had concealed the fact that Jim never really left town. All the letters were forged by his mother. That explains why they never let Richie participate. Having lost Jim to the ritual, they did not want to lose their only remaining child. Richie is overwhelmed with anger, realizing his parents gave Jim up in exchange for a lavish home and car. Now Richie stands face to face with the creature, fully aware it is his brother. He steps closer, but then a shot rings out from behind. The police have handed Riley a weapon to finish the ritual and protect the harvest. As Riley aims at Jim, Richie points his own firearm to stop him. Yet in the end, Jim, now Sawtooth Jack, guides Richie's hand to complete the ritual himself. Heartbroken, Richie follows through and ends the tradition with a vacant, sorrowful gaze. The Harvest Union once again rewards the winner, giving Richie a car.
Signs on the black road.
And he picks Kelly up so they can leave together, but the police follow them, just as they once did with Jim. Richie pulls over and tells Kelly to hide. He says that if he does not come back within 10 minutes, she should leave town. The authorities take Richie into the cornfield, clearly intending to ensure he never departs the area. However, before they can carry out their plan, the officer is shot by Richie, and the officer falls to the ground, weakened. Richie then buries the officer's body. At that moment, the farmer responsible for releasing Sawtooth Jack reappears, revealing that he too is part of the town's hidden agenda. The farmer puts Richie under great duress. Meanwhile, Kelly, still waiting in the car, is approached by Richie's father. She drives away, leaving this place behind. A year passes, and once again, the farmer prepares to bring Richie forth as Sawtooth Jack, so the ritual can happen once more. On the third day, Richie's father arrives at the farm and confronts the farmer, releasing Richie to head into town. Freed from the post, Richie intends to destroy the entire town and burn it to the ground, and with that, the film ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.